Hi, Matt with etrailer. Today we're going to be talking about the Swagman XC2 Bike Rack for two bikes on the 2023 Kia Sportage. Now, I'd recommend this to anyone who's kind of getting into biking. This is a very entry-level platform-style bike rack. Maybe it's just you and a friend who go out, but I'd definitely recommend it to the beginners. The Swagman is going to be able to hold two bikes, 35 pounds each, so it won't be able to accommodate those heavier e-bikes. And it's going to have only one tie-down point, and that's going to be on its frame with this hook here. And I wouldn't recommend using any carbon frame bikes since you kind of have to push down on this a lot. If we're going to want hatch access, we're going to take the bike off since this doesn't have a tilt-away feature. Something to note before we take it off a bike, our bike does sit pretty close to our vehicle, so we're going to have a few inches between our vehicle and our handles. And then at the very bottom here, our pedal is only going to have about maybe 2 inches to spare. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're taking off your bike. So I'd recommend keeping a hand on your bike the entire time so it doesn't fall into your vehicle. The first thing I'm going to do is remove this top hook so it makes it a little bit easier for us to get our bike off just by pressing this button here and pushing up. And I do like how you can take this off all the way. Another feature I do like is these hooks do have these paddings on top of them, just so it doesn't damage or take off any paint on your bike. And with those out of the way, I can take off our bike. If you want to make it a little bit easier, you can actually remove this pin at the bottom. And if I remove this pin at the bottom, it's going to allow me to move our center mass. So I can just push that either way, land it down, and now I can pull it towards me. Take it off. And with it off, I can take it for a ride. Before we open up our hatch, let's take a closer look at our cradles. These cradles will be able to accommodate 2.5-inch tires. And another nice thing about them is they're going to have these knobs on the side. And that's going to allow you to adjust for different wheelbases. So to do that, if I just turn this just a bit, I can actually just slide it down this rod, and it'll let me accommodate for different wheelbases. Now taking a closer look at how our mass folds up, I've already attached our hooks on there so we don't lose them. And we just need to make sure we put this pin through. And I'm just going to put it through this hole. You can put it through the other hole if you've laid down the center mass on the other side. And with that through, everything's kind of nice and secured. Just make sure everything's tight so it doesn't fall off. And now we can have access to our hatch. This is going to be nice, just in case, once you get to your spot, your bike's off already, you can grab any additional gear. Once you have that gear, you can kind of go hit the trails or do whatever you need to do. Another nice thing is you can just kind of leave it on since it is pretty compact, and it may be going out to get groceries or do something else. Something I do like about this rack is how close it sits to our vehicle. So if I measure from the back bumper to the furthest point out, it's going to be slightly above 18 inches. So that's really compact with our vehicle. And if I measure from the lowest point out, is going to be about 15 inches. So I mean, that's kind of lower for some other vehicles, but I think for the Kia, that's going to sit pretty well. And as for how it interacts with the back of our vehicle, it's really not going to obstruct anything. Our license plates, backup camera, tail lights, and back window are not going to be obstructed. As for how our carrier is going to plug into the back of our vehicle, we're going to have this 1.25-inch shank that plugs into a 2-inch hitch receiver. And that's going to be possible because it has this sleeve adapter that makes this a 2-inch shank now. And we're going to have this anti-rattle bolt that goes through here, and it's going to have this safety clip on the end just for a little bit more security. Overall, if you're just kind of getting into biking, then I think this is going to be a great choice for you because it's going to be one of our more entry-level bike racks, and it's really easy and straightforward to use since it only has one tie-down point and it's really easy to store. Now, if you still want that hatch access with your bikes on, there is a version, the XC2 Bike Rack, that has a tilt-away feature to it. Now, if you want something a little bit more sturdy with more tie-down points, I'd recommend the Hollywood Rack's Destination 2. It's just going to have a different style to it and have different types of trays. But if you don't need those additional features, then I'd recommend this one to you. And that was the look at the XC2 Bike Rack for 2 bikes on the 2023 Kia Sportage.